Hi, I'm Juli James. I'm with the Center for Games and Impact, and we've been working together to teach news game design to the journalism students at the ASU Cronkite School with their new media innovation lab. So what we do is we bring a tenet from learning games into news game design, and that tenet is that you need to connect the game's core mechanic to the informing or message of the game. And so the tool that we use to get students started with this is by Charmy Kim from Funstorm Games. And this is the game design tool that helps students unpack what the different components of a game look like. So it starts with the core mechanics. And the mechanics of a game are what make the game go. And so we tell them to think about things like rules, player actions, game systems, and story that each work together. But what is the core mechanic? What is the one meaningful thing that a player is going to do that connects to the message of the game, and that meaningful thing that persists through the game? So the core mechanic is the frequent, meaningful player action. Secondary mechanics build on the core mechanic or build up alongside the core mechanic. Progression is what happens in the game, how do you get to the next level, how do you get to the end of the game, and then the story. What's the story of the game? So some examples, and we play these games with our students in class and outside of class, are things like Monopoly, where the core mechanic is collecting money, and secondary mechanics are things like buying property, building on that property. You progress through Monopoly by going around the board, you're collecting rent, and then your narrative. What's the story? Are you building a real estate empire? But then there's also something, this translates to digital games as well, so there's something like Super Mario Brothers, which is a platformer. Your core mechanic is that you're jumping. Your secondary mechanic is that you're collecting lives. No, you're removing enemies and collecting coins. You progress by collecting lives, completing levels, and then, of course, we have to save the princess. So, and this kind of thing applies to a game as simple as Tetris, where you're just fitting pieces together, you're removing lines, you're going faster and faster and faster, or Angry Birds, where you're flinging, you're removing pigs, and you need to get revenge. But then what does this look like for more serious games or learning games? There's games like September 12th where there's one mechanic. This game is really basic. You're clicking, you're pointing, you're bombing, and that connects directly with the message of this game. It's the only thing the player does, but the whole experience is bound up in that action. Or you can do something like PlaySpent.org by the Ministries of Dunham, where every single choice that you make, this is about homelessness and poverty, so every single choice that you make in this game has an economic impact and is teaching you the consequences of that. So from there, we introduce the students to the game design tool, we play the games together, we reflect on design, we reflect on mechanics, and then we have 2 game design intensive activities that we introduce them to. One of them being Dope Strong. So this is the digital thing for Dope Strong. This is like our landing screen. But Dope Strong is a download, and you can go to newsgames.org and download all these materials, find the links to the games that I'm talking about and more, and find links to the readings and that kind of thing. So you download Dope Strong, you need some scissors to cut up the pieces, you need some dice or a dice app and a pencil. And what happens is we invite students into this game and we have them play it, but Dope Strong's slightly broken. It's unfinished. It has a mechanic, it has a message, it has a progression. They play a couple rounds and we say, what's going on? What's the experience here? You're choosing over and over again to dope, and then you have like high risk, high reward actions coming from that, and there's a message connected to it. But is it wrong? Help us finish Dope Strong. So we have students play this, we give them a time constraint. They have to discuss with each other, what do they want the game to change into? Do they want it to be harder to dope? Do they want to impose a racing commission? And then they get to make tweaks and mod the game right there, and they have to play those things and kind of reflect on whether the tweak that they made to the game rules actually connects with the message that they were going for. Again, high reward, right? It's really low fi, it's really low risk. They can fail and change and change and change, but then there's that moment when the students are like, oh, this thing that I did directly reflects in the experience, the player experience, and I haven't changed any of the words of the game, I've changed the experience of the game, I've changed the message of the game. So from Dope Strong, we go to the Game Design Challenge. And this is also a download where we've gamed a worksheet. All you need is dice, all you need is some materials at hand. I like to throw out some toys. So you roll for game elements. There's a theme, there's a verb, there's adjectives, and again, it's timed. But from there, you come up with your own game. Having seen the structure of a slightly broken game, now make one yourself. We have students do this in groups, and then after 30 minutes, 40 minutes or so, we have them play each other's prototypes, get feedback, understand the user experience, do the rapid prototyping, and then think about, this is the other main component of this game design worksheet, is think about the experience that you're making and how you can iterate that forward digitally. But because we do so much of this design work tabletop, they spend less time doing digital prototypes. And this has led us to making games like the News 21 post 9/11 Veterans Investigation in 2013 released a news game, Can You Make It Through the VA? That started with dice and timers and 3x5 cards, that kind of thing. Our students have made games around military interrogation practices, the legalization of marijuana, and vaccines, and how viruses spread through a population. So anyway, I was saying you can download all of these things at newsgames.org, all of the materials. You can play the games that I have talked about. And then I also have links to the digital tools that we use for then taking their game designs forward and using things like Balsamic for digital mock-ups, Twine for interactive narrative, etc. And if you have any questions, let me know.